All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to first Westie DJ Guild podcast. I'm Topi, and I'm here joined by my lovely co-host and an amazing DJ, Kasha. Kasha, how you doing?
Hello, I'm good. How are you, Topi?
I'm good. A bit stressed, but that's
You'll make it.
all right. And luckily, you don't just have to listen to us because we have a great guest with us. He did the Champions Jack and Chill at Mad Jam this year, and is one of the most liked late night DJs in US. He is, I can honestly say, one of the kindest and best behaving persons I've ever met, and working with him is always such a pleasure. He is also the person I think, has taught me most about DJing, and is always willing to share his music and knowledge with other DJs. So please welcome with us Koichi. I hope you can still say something.
Woo.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the kind words and inviting me to this podcast. So tell me more about what's the DJs Guild?
Okay, so Westie DJs Guild is actually the child of this amazing human being, Topi from Finland, who's a very community-oriented person. So he originally approached Tana from Israel, another DJ, with the idea that we should work on growing and cultivating the European community of West Coast Swing DJs, and that two-people team turned into a four-people team with me and Alicia from Germany. So we decided to, band together in a small group to brainstorm what we could do. And we wanted to focus on a couple of things, which are how could we get new people interested in DJing, and how could they learn the basics, and how could the regular DJs actually improve their skills, and how can we find a place for more experienced DJs to share their skills, and also, a place where we could interact and get to know each other. So those were like the basic things we wanted to talk about and change in the current situation in the community. So the Facebook group that you guys joined, or hopefully will join soon, is the first step towards that. We want to listen to your ideas, your needs, and maybe it will be also a place where you could share your skills with us. And we decided to go first with a series of interviews with well-known, experienced DJs, so we could learn from them and hopefully get people interested and excited about DJing, and so also in order for them to see that everybody starts somewhere, so everybody can learn DJing. Okay, so that's it for the introduction, and let me start with my first question, which is, Koichi, from zero to hero, what was your road to your current well-known DJ status?
Yeah, so okay, I'll try to keep it short. Basically, I started dancing West Coast Swing in 2003, and then I did my first convention experience in 2008 at Easter Swing. That's when I learned that I have so much more to learn. All right, for 5 years, I was in my own little happy world, and then I started to actively go to conventions, and around 2012 July is when I was asked, or so by 2012, I've been dancing for like 9 years, right? Just socially, and then going to some conventions. And by 2012, like I've gotten to know the Seattle. Seattle is a city in Washington State, which is northwest of the U.S. And so I'd gotten to know the community pretty well. And then one of the ballroom owners said, "Hey, do you want to guest DJ?" So I'm like, "Okay. I'll do it. It sounds fun." So I did for an hour, and it was great. And I didn't. My initial thought was, okay, that was fun, but I don't think I'll do it again, right? Like, at least I wasn't gonna seek out getting more gigs. And I did that. I was asked to be a guest DJ a few more times, and skip February of 2013. That's when I realized that, or around that time is when I realized that, oh, I wanted to do the whole 3 hour set, right? I was finding more and more joy in the 1 hour or an hour and a half sets that I've been doing. And then the more I did it, the more I enjoyed it. And then a few months later, June 2013 is when I did my first event. It was at Dance and Play, and it was as a guest DJ, not as a staff, but as a guest DJ. So I got to do a couple hours. I think Friday night or Saturday night from like midnight till like 2 or something. And then I got to do a Swingtacular in August of 2013, my second event. And then things kept on, like I really enjoyed DJing and I was getting good feedback. Of course, you know, always room to grow. But 2014 is when things really started to change for me, where I felt like I went from having to ask for things to getting asked occasionally, right, to a DJ event or be a late night DJ or whatever it is. So, and I got to become the head DJ for the first time for Rose City Swing in 2014 as well, I believe. So, but yes, that's around the transition. But basically, I just got into dancing a lot, been dancing for a while, started DJing, and didn't really think much of it, like it'll be a long-term thing. But after I realized that I might be reasonable at it, like I started really enjoying and just wanted to do more and more. And at some point, that's when it changed.
Cool. So how early in advance do you nowadays get to hear from the events that they want you there again next year? Or how early does one, like a new event, approach you?
Yeah, it varies. So sometimes an event, after the weekend's done, they might, because they already have figured out their date or whatever, they might ask me back, hey, like, will you be interested in coming back the following year, right, verbally. Some events that are new or I haven't worked before may approach me like anywhere between 4 to 8 months, but it depends when they get back, when they communicate with me. I think it just has to do with how busy they are and when they get to being able to work on their DJ team, I think.
Cool. So we here want to keep it educational, and we want to have a lot to learn from you, but we also want to keep it fun. And what's fun is when a DJ mess ups, at least afterwards. It's not great when you're DJing and something weird happens. So tell us about your worst cases when something went horribly wrong, and how did you deal with it?
Yeah, so one of the I have 3 examples, right, that I could think of. One of them was at Monterey Swing Fest. I don't quite remember the year. It was probably 2017 or 2018, but I was doing, I think, Champ Strictly, and I had, before the contest, I had issues configuring my sound on my DJ app. I was using Virtual DJ, and then so I went with the configuration that I'm not really familiar with, but I knew would work for now. And due to that unknown territory, the competitors were a couple was dancing, and I stopped the music in the middle of their dance, right? And then my first reaction was, oh no, and then what came out of my mouth was, I'm sorry, right? Just out loud, right? So and then so then for a little time after that, Parker and Melissa would greet me as, hey, sorry, right? As this, sorry was my name, right? Because I said it out loud. But the couple that it was Jake and Mackenzie, like, you know, they were totally nice about the fact that I stopped the song. It wasn't a big deal for them. So it was all, you know, they were very kind about it. So that's one of the ones I can remember. Another one was Champion Jack and Jill in 2020 Mad Jam. So it's the last Jack and Jill in the US before everything got shut down, right? I was doing the Jack and Jill. It was 2 songs set, the slow, contemporary, and then fast. And then the category I chose for the fast was jazz, right? And then, so I wanted to get the categories proper, right, to play actual jazz songs. Right? So I went through all the songs and made sure that the genre was the jazz category for all the songs that I was thinking about doing. And I came across one song, which, so I came across a song that I played for one of the competitors.
Yeah, so I think you told us privately that was Started Up, right?
Yes, it was Started Up.
Yeah, can you remember any of the other songs that you were playing at the time? So just we can get a comparison.
Yeah, for sure. So some other songs include things like Frank Sinatra's songs and songs by, shoot, hold on, I have the list. If you give me 5.
Was it like Fly Me to the Moon
15.
songs?
Yes, thank you. I'm so bad at titles sometimes, but yes, Fly Me to the Moon would be a really good example. The song that I did play was started up by, shoot, what was the artist? I have the...
I think none of us know the artist actually, but we do recognize the title. Started off. Or something. I'm a bad singer, sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned 3 embarrassing stories. What was the third one?
Yeah. Or maybe I can finish the story, right? So basically, the Fast song was supposed to be a jazz song, but the song that I played was in the community known as a blues song, right? And then for whatever reason, when I was looking up for that song, for some reason decided it was jazz, right? And then so I played it, but as I was playing the song, I was like, no, this is not jazz, right? It doesn't sound jazzy. It sounds bluesy. So I tried to do the same research again just like a few days ago, and I have no idea how I ended up with the category as jazz, right? So yes, I don't know what 2020 Koichi did, but he did his Google failed him right back then. So I felt a little bad, but the dance was great. So and then the couple that got it, or at least the leader that I talked to didn't seem to mind so much. So
do you remember who won? Was it the jazz song performers or the blues song performers?
Oh, who won? I don't know. I don't remember. I guess you could go to Mad Jam 2020, find out. Well, the couple that got the bluesy song was Glenn, and I forgot who the partner was.
Look it up.
Yeah. Cool. So that was that. And then the third one was the more serious one where I felt really, really bad. It was Tosh. So Tosh is Toronto Open Swing and Hustle Championship. It is in 2017. It was an event that happens in Toronto, Ontario in Canada, right? Which is like the east side of the Canada, the country. And then so I was doing the pro-am routine, and I started playing a song, and because I got distracted, I ended up restarting the song. And it was just the first few seconds of it, but about for 5 to 10 seconds, like same rhythm repeats, right? And because I had restarted it during that time, the couples didn't know that song got restarted. They started the routine when they knew the song should have kicked in, right? But they were confused because something was off, and I had to stop it again, apologize, and they have to redo it. And I felt really bad because doing routine must be hard, and then who knows what kind of mental state they were in, right? I had the chance to catch up with the pro, and I was apologetic, and he was again very kind about it. But who knows what really happened, right? Especially with the amateur, when maybe it was their first time doing it, or maybe it was their 10th time. Who knows? But I felt really bad because that was I felt like it was one of the most serious mistakes I've made.
Yeah, I can imagine that was quite hard. And thank you for sharing, because it's hard to admit to mistakes, but we can all learn from them. Okay, so let's talk music for a bit. Blues. So do you play blues in your sets, in social sets, and in competition sets? And if yes, then why?
Yeah, I do. So in social sets, early in the night, I usually play more. So, for example, at Century Ballroom, which is one of the most prominent places to dance in Seattle, Washington. Again, Washington State is the northwest side of the U.S. The social starts at 9 p.m. and goes until midnight. The first hour or so, I usually play blues-ish song or traditional song, maybe one out of every 3 songs. Later in the night, I might play one in every 6, maybe one in every 8, right? So it gets infrequent. In competitions, it's very, for heated format, it's very likely that out of the 3 songs, one of them is going to be like blues-ish, if not like a swung rhythm song. So yes, blues is something that I do play often enough. So then in terms of why, I think a few reasons. So I'm not too versed in the history of West Coast swing, but blues and blue jazz song is part of West Coast swing history, right? Also like swung rhythm song as well. so I feel like it's an opportunity to not forget about where the dance came from. So as a DJ, I have an opportunity to help keep a community where I'm at apprised of what people may have used to dance to, right? So that's one of the reasons. And then the other reason is that, well, like the community I'm involved in, so the good thing about pros and cons of blues songs is that they don't really change, or DJs don't really have large repository of blues songs that they go through when they do West Coast Swing, right? So whether it's social or contest. So really the same set of blues songs tend to get played at contests, at different events, at least in the US, right? So by playing blues songs at your local community and getting the local dancers used to it, then you're helping the community perhaps do better in the contest, right? For those that choose to compete. So it's just trying to give the people that I'm DJing for a little extra edge by playing blues songs.
Do you fall under like DJ who thinks more about like a blues songs and non-blues songs, or like swing songs and non-swing songs, or do you think it's a totally different thing if it's a blues song and a swingy, like swing rhythm song, same to you or different to you?
Wait, so Topi, you're asking if there's a distinction for Koichi between blues songs or swung rhythm songs? Is that it?
Yes.
Yeah, so swung rhythm, like there are some pop songs that I come across once in a while that has swung rhythm song. For example, I think Maroon 5, I think Stutter is the song name. And then if you listen, I think it's Stutter, hopefully I'm right. But if you listen to a song, it has the swung rhythm into it, right? So it doesn't have to be a blues song or traditional, like old song to have the swung rhythm. But generally speaking, like when I think so going back to the contest format discussion, I do think it's important to have variety of genre when you do a heated format. So of the 3 songs, I usually choose one of them as traditional blues, just because I think the category itself is important, but also it hits such a 2 birds with 1 stone, which is it's blues songs, it's old song, and it has swung rhythm, right? So I think of the 3, I want one of them to be swung rhythm because I think it helps figure out. I feel like it helps the judges kind of split the crowd, like someone that understands swung rhythm versus not. But most times, swung rhythm blues just happens to line up.
Okay, so
hopefully that answers the question.
Definitely. I think a lot of DJs, especially here in Europe, say that like it's hard to play blues at the social floor, like because it's kind of can be quite different from the other music a lot of DJs are playing. So like keeping the mood up when you are playing blues can be hard, and obviously a lot of the blues songs are also quite fast. So what's your like go-to ways to incorporate blues to your sets?
Yeah, that's a good question. So as a DJ, one of the things I try to focus on is how do I keep people on the floor, right? And then I think one of the ways I've been able to do a reasonable job at that is by one of the general, not philosophy, the rule that I have is that I want everyone to dance at least 1 in 3 songs, right? And then 1 in 3 songs doesn't seem like a lot of songs, but I guess my thought is that because I do late night DJing a lot, if someone sits down for more than 3 songs and it's 5 a.m., they're probably just going to go to sleep, right? So I kind of apply that through everything that I do, even during the early nighttime social. And then, so yes, I do agree that there seems to be a general sentiment amongst DJs that if you play a blues song, most of the time there are fewer dancers that dance, right? So the floor gets a little empty one out. But so going back to what I said about, okay, try to keep people dancing 1 in every 3 songs, it's okay that someone sits down for 1 song, no big deal, right? So what I might do is I might surround the blues songs with 2 songs that I think will work pretty well, whether it's pop or some other category that I think will be a floor filler, right? So that and I'll play blues songs in the middle, and then yes, maybe the number of dances goes down, but no big deal because with the next song I'll bring the floor back up to capacity, right? So I think the key thing is variety and recognizing, being okay with the idea that there are few people that's going to dance blues songs, I think.
All right. So blues is great, I think, and I think we should as a DJ. I have a lot of friends who really enjoy blues and like really come and ask for the blues. And I'm sure every community has some amount of that. So I think that's important that we also cater to those people, even though it's not the majority.
Yeah, and also another thing that I do is that when I DJ for events, and like a week before, or if I know events happening and I'm DJing at some local venue, I might remind them that like, hey, I'm one of your contest DJs. Blues songs will probably show up, right? So when I say things like that, blues will actually get more people on the floor, right? So I'm not sure how the contests are split in outside of the U.S., but at least in the U.S., because almost all the time one of them is going to be blues songs, I could do that to motivate people. So at least the people that compete to get on the dance floor when I play blues songs.
Yeah, it's mostly the same in Europe. We also get usually 1 out of 3 songs in the comps. It's a blues song or at least bluesy.
That's good. Yeah. So so you could just suggest to the crowd that they really should dance the blues songs you're going to play because it's going to be in one of the contests, right? And even if it's not before the event, as a DJ, I think you could just, hey, this is a really well-known, it's a popular blues song that gets played for contest. You should, get trained, and all the competitors will be like, okay, I'll dance.
Very sneaky.
Very sneaky indeed. So I guess you're clearly a sneaky person as a DJ, but there's also being behind the DJ booth, you get to witness a lot of things that's happening in the events that maybe all the event attendees don't always notice or get to be part of. So what's the most weird or interesting thing you have witnessed at the West Coast Swing event or party?
I can't really say that I've seen something weird, or if I did, I may have blocked it off of my memory, right? Or it's like, don't share this, it was too weird, right? But definitely there are a few things that I have observed. So for example, especially when especially on late night, like I start noticing some patterns in what dancers may be doing, right? So like certain people are hanging around with certain people all the time, or certain people leave the ballroom, come back. I start noticing all these things because I'm just DJing and I'm watching the floor, and then I also notice people that are coming in and out of the ballroom. So I start noticing some of the connection that people have at events. So I think that's I thought that's kind of cool.
So it's like social twist on the DJing part of the job.
Yeah, for sure. Like just it's. Yeah, so especially like when I go to a community that I never DJ before, all right? Because I started off DJing in the Northwest side of things. So when I get to go to the East Coast or the South or whatever it is, or Midwest, it's always a fun new experience, and it's just kind of fun observing. Yeah, and also like just noticing how some areas prefer certain types of genre more so than others, or faster or slower, whatever it is. So start noticing the community, the bias that a community have about the types of songs that they want to dance to. So I just found it really interesting, and they're definitely, at least in the U.S., there are definitely different patterns, different likes and dislikes of song types.
So if you want some gossip, go ask the DJ. Is that the?
Sorry, what do you say?
If you want some gossip about people and relationships, go ask the.
I guess you could. So, yeah, like the thing is, I don't really I may notice it, but I don't. It's really rare that I gossip, right? But if someone asks me questions that are very direct and it's kind of like fact based, yes, I'll probably answer. It's like, yeah, I noticed this. But yeah, I try to avoid gossiping.
Let's get to the main topic here. So in order to become a great DJ, there are multiple ways, but if you could name 3 of them, Koichi, what would those be?
Yeah, Oh, good question. So I feel, let's see. Yeah, so watching the floor, right? It seems like an obvious suggestion, but I don't think uh, I I don't think all DJs watch floor, right? So I think that's really critical. Number two is you definitely want to keep up with the current music, and there are many ways to do that, right? And then another one is practicing, right? So even to this day, there are certain things that I may want to try, or certain things that get asked from an event, right? And like recently, I noticed that one of the events that I DJ that it's missing one of the channels. So the way the speakers are set up, it either has left. I think it's missing the left channel. There are certain songs like Left Right by Charlie Puth that makes you realize that one of the sound channels missing, right? And then so I haven't done it yet, but one of the things I thought about doing is, okay, how do I for as a DJ for West Coast Swing Dancer, we don't really care about the existence of the left and right channel. We just want both available, right? So I started to recently think about how do I bring that down to mono, so both of the channels will come out of the as a single mono output, right? Then even if the speaker only is playing left or the right channel, then it'll catch both of the channels, right? So practicing is, I think, really important.
Is there more you could add to practicing? Other examples that we as DJs could, actually do as our homework to become better?
Yeah, so I think anytime, so downloading virtual DJ is the app that I use to DJ primarily, right? And then the reason why when I started DJing as a guest DJ, I was using iTunes, right? So the what I did was I had a list of songs that so in an hour I might play like 17, 18 songs. So I had a playlist of about 20 songs that if I don't do anything, it'll go through them, right? And I had another playlist of about 50 where I might move songs, change songs around depending on how the floor is doing. But with iTunes, I definitely made a few mistakes where I would switch the song by mistake. So using an app that's not for DJing, or by using a DJ app, you have less chance to make a mistake, I feel like. Right? That's why I use virtual DJ. Of all the capability virtual DJ has, I probably use like 1%, if even, what it can do, right? But I use it because it helps decrease the chance of making a mistake. And then, so then you could download virtual DJ, find song, and you could start, you configure the sound and whatever, and you can start using it fairly quickly. But there's a lot of configurations, there's a lot of unknowns where you might learn over time, right? And then, of course, the fast way to learn is that something happens while you're DJing. You're like, oh no, how do I fix this, right? But ideally, you want to avoid that by trying it at home, right? Practicing at home, pretend you're DJing an event, like configure sound a few different ways, try new things. Because virtual DJ, a lot of things that does that it's really, really helpful for a DJ. It's actually not helpful for West Coast Swing DJs, right? Because like we don't want BPMs to automatically match between the left deck and the right deck, right? So I think just practicing and trying things out, trying new configs is really important.
Okay. Well, other than the technical side of things, so assume everything is configured perfectly. How do you, improve in other ways, like with music choices? What do you do?
Yeah, so so again, pros and cons of bluesish traditional old songs, they don't really change, but pop is changing all the time, right? Like new songs all the time. And then I think for me, you have to be aware of what other DJs are playing by going to supporting local events or going to national events when you can make it out. You could, assume you watch TV shows or movies, you could just always be ready to Shazam, right? I've definitely gotten a lot of songs from just shows that I'm watching. So I feel like it's really important to stay up to date because other DJs are staying up to date, right? And pops go through the scene really, really quickly. So if you aren't actively trying to find new songs, it's very likely that your set will get stale in a year or so.
And one more thing, do you think it makes sense to practice in like local scenes? Because when you go to events, it's usually way different. It's with different people, different crowd. What do you think about practicing locally?
Yeah, so it's such a great idea. So I would say even before that, you could start to offer to, your friends are throwing parties, right? Just small group friends, and you could DJ for them, right? Because I think the point is repetition, right? Do it as often as you can. Like even earlier, I said something about watching the floor. Like you could watch the floor, and then you could decide to collect different kinds of information, right? Like people that sat down, people that got up, people that aren't dancing. There's a lot of things you could look for, and you can start tweaking what you look for, right? Same with like just practicing locally. The more you do it, the better you're going to get, because the more mistakes you make, the better you will be, right? And then where you want to make mistakes is with your friends or locally, as much as possible. So when you're at the event, like the chance to make a mistake is just smaller.
Okay, so I guess it's from my side is please local folks forgive us for the mistakes we make. It's for the better good.
Yeah,
Yes, it's so that when you, so at events when you DJ, it's going to be smooth sailing.
yeah, and I think it's also like one thing I've noticed as a DJ. It's really sometimes it's really hard to get some like useful like feedback from people. Like you hear the good parts, and then you like hear when the people are saying bad things about the other DJs who are playing sometimes. But as a DJ, it's hard to get the like the feedback when it's about your sets. Do you have some ideas about how can you make that more direct? I think that's something that's one of the things we are trying to figure out how to incorporate in the Westie DJ Guild.
Yeah, the feedback culture.
Yeah, but do you have some ideas about that?
Yeah, good question. So generally speaking, so take West Coast Swing out of the equation, right? I feel like people aren't comfortable giving feedback, just generally speaking, right? So I think if you want feedback, you have to seek it, right? So you have to actively ask for it. So I don't know exactly when, but from a while ago, I started to directly ask event directors, for example, or head DJ, like, hey, do you have any thoughts, right? Do you have any feedback? So those that are basically your peers or your boss at an event, you could definitely ask them, and you can even tell them before the event, like, hey, these are the things I'm looking to get improve or get feedback for, so you could kind of prepare them, right? So that's one option. Another one is that if you've been dancing for some time, you have your set of friends that are probably going to be very honest, right, about what you're doing, what you put out there, both good and not so good. So definitely take advantage of the close connection you have, the dancers, I think all that will be really, really useful. Also, what you could do is one of the things that Ruby Lair, one of the well-known DJ in the US, lives in Texas, does is she will, if she has a song she wants to try, she'll tell the crowd like, hey, I want a thumbs up or a thumbs down, right? Asking for direct feedback for a song that she's going to play. So she'll do that once in a while for songs that she wants to try out and get direct feedback. I don't know if I'm guessing it's almost always local. I don't know if she's done it at large events. Maybe she will, right? I feel like she's a caliber enough that she could do that, and people enjoy it one way or another. But yeah, like at a local event, you could definitely be like, hey, I'm trying this other one. Let me know, honest opinion, thumbs up, thumbs down, right? You can start incorporating something like that.
Yes.
I think the simpler the feedback that people are willing to give, right? Because if you do like a survey form that's 10 questions, most people probably won't do it. So something simple and short will probably be really good.
Yeah. So I want to like get back to one of your first points about watching the floor, because like I feel like that's something you hear a lot, but I'm not sure like if everybody has the same idea what does it mean to watch the floor. So what are you watching when you're watching the floor, and what's the things you find important about that?
Yeah, that's a good point. So early on, the really basic thing that I looked for was, are there around the same number of people dancing, or fewer or more, right? So that you could visually compare to the previous song, right? That you could just look and quickly determine, right? So that is one data point to figure out if the song that I'm playing right now is perhaps better or worse. One caveat is that depending on where you're DJing, at least in the US, I've noticed that some folks start dancing the time to start dancing and like West Coast, generally speaking, seems faster than the East Coast, right? So at West Coast, about maybe 30 seconds later, I could get a pretty good idea if the song worked out or not. In East Coast, I might wait like a minute before I determine the song worked out or not, right? But that's one data point. Another data point is who's not dancing. So of those folks that are in the ballroom, have a look to see, like the ballroom, the floor could be about the same number, but maybe there are more people than the previous song that aren't dancing because like people came in or whatever, right? So people people that are sitting in a ballroom or just socializing is another data point, right? Because even if the floor is full, if there are like lots and lots of people not dancing, maybe there's a room to improve, right? Another thing that I look for is like what kind of dancers are dancing. So usually early on in the night, the less experienced dancers are around, and then later in the night, more experienced dancers will show up, right? So if I play, I don't know, like maybe a Marion Hill song. The Marion Hill is, I really love that artist and has a lot of interesting songs, but a lot of them are really intricate and challenging to dance to, I think, for at least the new dancers. So if I play that early on, I'm pretty sure that the new folks won't be, the less experienced folks won't be dancing as much when experienced dancers might be, right? So it may be inappropriate for that time. So I think it's good to look for what types of dancers are dancing as well.
That's like a great summary for me, at least, on things to look forward. So what do you do when the DJ booth is located badly, or like some events have like a second dance where you can't see because of they have a corridor where the same music is playing, or for example,
you mean the dance floor is split into two sections
Yeah.
with the same music?
Yeah.
That happens.
So in the US, I have seen the dance floor split, but when they are, usually the DJ is still able to observe, right? Usually the booth is high enough, and maybe there are two sections, but you can see both, right? I think it'll be really challenging to not be able to see. Like I think one of the scenarios you talked to me about was a completely different room, but your music is being piped into, right? I think for that, what's probably really challenging is that as a DJ, I want to be able to watch the floor, right? Well, you want to watch what's happening. Again, like are there fewer people dancing? The more people dancing, you want to use that as a data point to figure out what song you're going to play next, right? So if that's the case, you can't do that if you can't see it, right? So if there is literally a different room where you can't see, maybe it's worth having like a live, what do you call it? The camera set up so you can see what the room looks like, right? And it can even be like a baby cam, I guess. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, right? Something that works short distance. Yeah. So those, I think, or a friend's camera with the Facebook Live pointing into the other room, right? So a lot of different ideas. I think that would really help. Yeah, because I do feel like it's really hard. I mean, basically, if I can't see the floor, the music is just coming out of the other room, and then they're at the mercy of what's happening on the floor that I could see, right?
Okay, thanks for sharing. Yeah, hopefully we will improve our systems during events when the DJs cannot watch two floors. That's very hard.
Yeah, and even there are even things like even if there is one room and then the DJ booth is set up at one of the things I noticed as a late night DJ is that there's always a door that ends up being the natural pathway for people to go through, like in late night. Meaning, so the ballroom might be set up, the main entrance might be in the middle, but at late night, maybe they all come through this door, right? Because it's just closer, someone opened it, no one's checking the door. And then now imagine the DJ like being here, right? DJ is DJing here, and then people are dancing around the natural opening. And then now when people are dancing, I can't even see who's not dancing, right? So no matter how high the DJ booth is. So one of the things I do talk about with event directors, if I feel like the DJ booth location is not ideal, then I might, especially if I am the head DJ, then I'll definitely talk with the event directors. Hey, can we locate the booth at a place where even late night DJs could see who's dancing, who's not?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Yeah, okay, let's switch gears a little bit. So the next question is about being a consistent DJ. So we say very often that a consistent DJ is a person who manages to play sets that are at least good, like all of them are at least good, if not awesome or amazing. So what's your secret formula for that?
So I mentioned it earlier, I think as well, but I think one of the key things is recognizing that not everyone's going to be happy with the song that you play, and that's okay, right? And then how do you motivate the dancers enough to stay in the ballroom and to keep on dancing at least through the night? And one other thing is that I really do think about is how do I make everyone dance at least one song every 3 songs, right? I think that is, I mean, yes, ideally I want them to dance to all the songs that I play, right? And then I love it when people come to me and say, hey, I was trying to sleep, but I danced for extra an hour and a half because songs they kept on playing was hard to leave. So it's really complimentary. It's really flattering. But generally speaking, yes, I try to get people to dance every 1 in 3 songs. And then how do I do that? One of the ways through variety of music, right? So let's ignore the late night for now, because late night is a different beast in my opinion. But like during the normal social times, like say 9 p.m. to midnight, I think it's really important to have different genres, right? So to throw in that blues and traditional songs, some oldies, as well as pop, right? And within pop, there's the pop like I don't know, Justin Bieber, right? Or you could play like R&B and hip hop and all sorts of different genres. And then also to be mindful of the region that you're DJing for, right? So I have the chance to DJ in Washington State a lot, in the Seattle area a lot, again in the Northwest, and then now I'm getting a few more opportunities to DJ in Texas, Austin, Texas, where I live right now, which is the really huge state in the south of the U.S. And definitely the crowd size impacts what I play as well, but there's a general genres that the Northwest people like versus the Texans seem to like. So I think be mindful of that, and then having enough music that you could change the way you DJ. The way I DJ doesn't necessarily change, but the songs I choose to pick, right? Should be different, probably depending on where you're DJing, and also local versus smaller ballroom versus national event. I think it's very different as well.
That's a lot to take in, but I'm sure it will help a lot of people.
I think we are recording this so we can really listen to it again.
Yes. Here in Europe, we often, because of the main ballrooms not being big enough, we often have second rooms with some, and like I think most DJs and head DJs and the event organizers often find it more that they like it more if there's a second team in a different room. So what would for you be like some 3-5 good teams for a second room that you would like to have as a DJ?
I think the event should be, if they want to do a second room, whether it's Mad Jam chose to have a second room because they just have way too many people to fit everyone in the main ballroom, right? And some events will choose to have it, whether they have loads of people or not, they might choose a second room. But I think whenever you choose a second room, you must have a reason for. So Mad Jam, what they chose was, one of the nights it was a switch room. So the lead follow would switch, and the second night it was a steel room, right? Same room, but different theme. So that wasn't a music-based theme. It was an action, right? A dance-based theme. And then there's definitely a lot of people, especially that come to Mad Jam, that enjoy switching, right? Switching roles and also stealing. So it was their attempt at, like, first entice people to go to the other room because the main ballroom might be packed. Right? So I think it's important to have a theme that works for that region, because nowadays switch and steal may work anywhere, but back in the days, a decade ago, maybe that wouldn't have worked, right, in most of the regions, right? Another way you could have a theme is by genre, and then I think one of the things I've heard a bunch is the John Festa room. Yeah, he's one of the DJs in the U.S. and he's really well known for his like blues and traditional songs. And then I've definitely heard people say, hey, I don't usually like blues, but John Festival is amazing, right? So what's cool about a theme room is that even someone that may not enjoy blues traditionally, when they go into a blues room with the expectation that they're all going to be blues and traditional, their view about the song and genre may change, right? So I think you definitely don't want to have in my opinion, you definitely don't want to have a second ballroom just for the sake of having more space. I think it's important to have some sort of intent, some sort of theme that also goes well with that local scene as well, right? Because like if you do a theme that no one cares about for that local scene, it may not get packed at all, right? And no one may choose to come in.
Okay, so you talked about switching and still room. I think you told me sometimes that you have been DJing at the switch room and still room before. So how do you think, is there something different while DJing for switching and stealing? Something to keep in mind?
Yeah, so Mad Jam at 2023. So just recently, I had the chance to DJ the smaller room, the switch room, and what I was thinking about is that if I don't really switch as a dancer, but if I were to switch, I imagine that if the song's too fast, it's going to make it quite more challenging, right? I guess maybe I should talk to one of the dancers, but I was kind of guess that probably chiller, mid-tempo, slower songs might be the best. So I chose to keep the BPM on the slower end. And I'll try to go a little bit high to see what would happen. But I don't think I really went above 110. I think it was 110, probably more like 105 and slower. And then my focus was creating a space where the dancers could have fun, succeed, and then just want to stay in there, right? So I think it was 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. maybe. So the main ballroom had great music going on. But because I kept it slow with my intent to help the switch dancers, I think it gave it a chiller late night vibe earlier in the night. And I think people seem to have really enjoyed it.
We do have 2 questions from our lovely public. So let me start with the first one. It's from Nessie Dance. So sorry, Nessie, it's going to be slightly rephrased. Koichi, what do you think about playing popular fast songs, especially for comps? Rephrase this. How do you usually challenge higher divisions in comps? Okay, so
I think also the important part was about like playing songs that you won't be dancing socially.
Okay, let me try and rephrase again, right? So if you want to challenge your competitors, would you choose fast contemporary songs that are not normally played on the social dance floor? Or would you choose something else? Or what are the pros and cons?
Oh man, that's a good question. So one of the things I heard a while ago as an advice from, I don't remember who, but one of the experienced DJs mentioned that, hey, you as a contest DJ, you want the dancers, the competitors to feel like you're on the same team, right? So yes, I will choose to play blues songs or bluesy song in a heated division, and that's my choice to perhaps help it, make it obvious, like who knows swung rhythm versus not. So yes, in a way I am challenging them, right? But I want them to have a great time. I want them to have fun. So generally speaking, so like all-star champs, like I don't want to, I try not to make it a place for me to challenge them for the sake of challenging them, right? Because I want them to succeed. So I don't always succeed at that, right? I'll play a song that they don't know, or maybe it was too weird. So I definitely have room to improve often. But generally speaking, I try not to challenge the dancers with songs, right? But I know that like recently I went to French Connection, and then I don't know the French scene, the music that gets played and whatnot. And then one of the themes I chose for one of the spotlights was like fast pop from like a 2012-ish, right? So in the US, they're well known. Everyone knows, or most people know about them, whether they've been dancing forever or dancing, just started dancing. And yes, they don't get played socially, but I think at least in the US, they get played with contests, that people starting to recognize, right? So I think that's good. But I did notice that there were some songs that folks in French Connection probably didn't know. So I definitely felt bad about it. However, I think it's I guess part of the Jack and Jill is I try to give, I'll never really know if everyone knows a song or not, right? So I'll try to give what I think will be a fair set of songs. And then if I feel like something didn't work out well, I'll just remember and then think if I need to make adjustments for the next time. Right. So so I try not to play unknown songs for the sake of challenging people. Like I may choose songs that are unknown, but then I'll try to make it as equally unknown as fair as possible, right? If I am going to go down that path.
Mm-hmm. But if you know a song from, let's say, radio, and you assume everybody knows it, would you also consider that something good to play in comps, even though it's not normally played on the social dance floor?
Yeah, that's a good point. So I think it'll depend on the song. So I think there are, generally speaking, fast songs don't get played as much compared to like 100 BPM, 105 BPM. So yes, but the more well-known the song is, I think I'm going to feel more comfortable. But generally speaking, where I feel more comfortable playing songs that I think people may not know is in a heated division, right? Because in a heated division, maybe you have two heats, maybe you have 4 heats, but there are fewer songs that you need to match. So like if I decide that the third song is fast contemporary, and if the division has 4 heats, I only need to find 4 songs that are kind of similar in nature, right? And then so that's and also because they have a chance to dance with 2 other songs, I'm more comfortable playing not as familiar songs, right? But for a spotlight, especially if they only have 1 song, I much prefer to play songs that are more familiar. If they have 2 songs, I'm more comfortable playing maybe 1 set of songs that are not as familiar and 1 set of songs that are really familiar, right? To give people a chance to succeed with at least one of them, like really, really well.
Yeah. When you started talking about French Connection, you reminded me about the 2022 last year's French Connection, where you played at the Open Strictly. I'm pretty sure it was the swingy jazz team, and I think that was maybe the favorite competition. It was like 6 couples because it's a smaller local event, but like that was an amazing final. I'm so sad if anyone ever has any videos or and sees some videos online, because I haven't found any YouTube videos from that competition. I really want to see them again. But that was such a great, the French dancers are great, as everyone knows, but that competition was so good. And I think something we should say more often is when the competition music is good, as it was there. That was great competition.
I agree. I was there as well, and I enjoyed the comps music a lot. And I've seen maybe not a trend, but recently, at least at 2 events, Facebook pages after the event, somebody posted, "Thank you DJs for great job for the music in comps." So I think that's awesome, and it would be nice if we could keep this up. Of course, if there are reasons for for praising us.
I feel like especially for new folks that start dancing, people I think choose events by the pro staff, the teachers, right? Because that's what they're familiar with, and then I feel like just my opinion, right, and my observation. But I think music is quite often secondary, right? Like where if you notice when it's bad, you notice. When it's good, you may not notice it, right? Because you are enjoying the dance and the social and whatnot. But as people get more experience, I think I switched at one point to pick events by DJs, right? And of course, my intent changed. So like when I do go to events where I chose because of DJ, I definitely try to tell them if I really enjoyed it, I'll tell them about it and try to be specific about it too. Not just like, hey, it was a good set, but hey, it was a good set. I really enjoyed this thing. Because like a general feedback is not as helpful as something that's very specific, right? And if you're friends with someone and you have if you want to give feedback, then yeah, by all means do it, but probably not while they're DJing, right? Or during the event, maybe after the event, just connect with them and say, hey, you want to chat about this? And if they say no, then that's fine. But if they're willing to listen, it's a great opportunity to chat about DJing.
Mm.
Yes, yes, and I think it's something actually that's a bit of a problem in Europe because we don't like. I tried my hardest to figure out who's DJing at an event when I'm going, but it's really hard in Europe to know that. That's something there was a great question about it, like if in the Westie discussion of the day, if people would like to have
Yesterday.
the DJ list like schedules published during the event. Like most events only have like head DJ. Some events don't even have that like publicly known beforehand. And I hope we can change that at some point.
Yeah.
But there was a great question in the chat about how do you organize your music? I think I'll give you 3 minutes.
Very generous.
Yeah, so how, just as a, let's see, the way you organize music as a DJ it should be dependent on how you DJ, right? So the way I DJ is I generally pick a genre, then I pick a BPM, then I figure out the energy that I want, and that results in a song typically. So because of that format, like some of the plays have our genre focused, right? And then I use BPM to pick. Then so that one is just a big list of songs, right? But usually split by year, so I can find the newer songs. Most of the time. Like most of the pop songs I play are from the songs from the past year, right? So I have a playlist that says, hey, what are the songs from the past year? And I use that to find if it's pop, I use that to find the songs quickly. So, but the way I organize it is, it's really just, I organize it the way I do is because of the way I DJ, right? So if you don't use BPM as one of the ways to figure out, then you don't necessarily need to be able to sort the songs by BPMs, right? Maybe you'll split by genres or by energy or whatever it may be. So, but yeah, this one I could keep on going forever. So maybe maybe I could share exactly what I do some other time in the future.
Okay. Then since we've been talking for a long time already, let's slowly wrap up or fastly, I don't know. Well, anyway, thank you so much, Koichi, for spending the time with us and sharing your story, your skills. It was lovely to have you. You've been more than kind and generous with us. And if any one of our viewers or listeners want to know where to find you next, or where to see you or rather listen to your music live, then hopefully our behind-the-scenes magician, Tana, will display now a list of your coming up events. And if for some reason, because of Murphy's Law, this doesn't happen, then we'll post the list in the Facebook group.
It's there.
Shortly after. It's there already. Oh, you mean the overlay is there?
Yes.
Okay, so we survived another technical point on our list. Anyway, there will be a Facebook post coming with the list of the events, and we will also post there a public playlist on Spotify with Koichi's music. Thank you for sharing. And there will be also a link to a document with competition guidelines that Koichi has shared with us, which is something that some of the US DJs use as guidelines for competition music.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being with us. And like Kasia, you kind of forgot the important part. This is just the first of many. We hope, at least. We are sure that there's gonna be at least 2 of things like this. We have already planned us, and we'll be sharing the dates and times closer to it. But I can say that the next, like a big guest, will be having probably end of May, beginning of June, because we'll be busy the next few months with Tana. Will have her own event in Israel.
Yes,
Everyone should probably go to.
Yeah, so she's a DJ who's also the organizer of an event. So I know she'll take care of us fellow DJs in her stuff.
Yeah. So the next big thing will be then, but then we'll be having the more casual chatting about music and whatever comes to our mind in a couple weeks. We'll post all the important info you'll find in the Facebook group. We'll try to post it in the Instagram you can always message us in Facebook and like ask what's happening. We'll keep the conversation going in the Facebook group, and feel free to ask any questions about DJing and send us things you would want us to focus on and have discussions about there. So it's a starting process that I'm really excited about, and I know all of us are really excited about, and I have a lot of people been messaging us about how excited they are about it. So I'm thinking it's gonna be great, but it's gonna take some time. But thank you, Koichi. It's been a pleasure like always. We'll definitely have you again because there's so many more questions I want to ask you.
Sounds great.
Then we wish you a lovely day, I assume, since it's the beginning of the day for you, and we'll keep in touch.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.